Welcome everyone. Today we have a special guide for the build to rank up. This is one of the highest rate build I have tried so far, which how I got to Lord of the White Spire, also Big Boss Fight. We were ranked world number 24, now we're falling down to 36 because I haven't been ranking up and playing the ranked matches because I have been spending all my time over the weekends to make this build for you guys. I want to share this build because this is how I got to Big Boss, and this build works effectively because it had such a high win rate for me. And the highlight for this build is not to dependent on items or units, because certain units or certain composition of items can make it stronger, but necessarily it's not needed. We can be strong because of the choices we make. The key core concept of this build is that we need to understand we have no control over the win streaks, because some games we're super lucky, other games we happen to not find anything. It's all single units and all pairs. So what we do have control is that we can be saving and with our losing streak. By saving, spending and collecting the right units, we can turn the unpredictableness of RNG into something more controllable. I remember this one game I was in Big Boss 5, I had all pairs and no 2 stars until round 14. I was down to about 50% and round 13 I think of HP. It was so difficult, but with this concept we still made it back to be number 1 actually. So I'm calling this build Matt's 4 Warlock, 3 Mages legendary build. We use a lot of legendaries in this. Let's look at early game first. Core concept of early game is that we're saving up to 50 gold. In round 1 to 4, we want to stay on level 4 unless we want to protect win streak. Because the concept is economy, anything that helps economy, we'll take it. The core concept allows us to save 1 to 3 rounds earlier than anybody else, because we started saving around round 6 or 7. Well, most people start saving around round 9 or round 10, or some even delay that as well. We save earlier, we're able to spend earlier with a surplus gold over 50. Unless we're profiting from leveling up, by that I mean protecting a win streak, we don't really need to level up to 5 or 6 too fast, because the units we're looking for are purple units and legendaries for the late game. Let's look at the unit of choice in the early game. We have Scrappies, Druids and Warriors. Scrappies are ideal with explosive global item for the inventors. This is a top pick because the less units we have, the stronger the Scrappy buff is. It doubles when we have less unit than the enemy, and it's perfect because we stay on level 4 most of the time. We're trying to find 1 to 3 2-star Scrappies. If we do that, we had a good run in the early game. We have minimal losses or even get a few wins in the early rounds. We will lose eventually, that's a fact, but just how much less we're losing HP. The next one is pairs of Druids. If we find Enchantress, Furion is not, or Furion or Trim, sorry. The next one is pairs of Druids. We can find pairs of Enchantress and Trim Protector. I don't recommend the Nature's Prophet because it doesn't help much. The Trims are too weak and Natural Prophet itself is too weak. So the Druids I'm looking for are Enchantress and Trim Protector to 2-star. Also later swapping the Enchantress for the Lone Druid to 2-star, that'll be perfect. But no need to force those if they don't come. A 2-star Druid can be very strong. I'm sure some of you have seen my videos with round 5 finding a 3-star Enchantress with the Druid power. Warriors. If you can't make Scrappies, nothing comes. If none of the Druids really comes, we can go with Warriors and Heartless. That means 3 Warriors plus Heartless. Then we want 3 Warriors plus Pudge as one of the Heartless. 3 Hunters with the Draw. So what that means is the 2 Heartless helps us with amplification of physical damage. Warrior tanks, Hunter does damage. But that tank is built into 6 units on the board. Ideally, we want to stay on low level, so I recommend the top 2, but sometimes 6 units are fine. You just delay a little saving, but you have so much more HP to play with. Choices in the early game. We want to pick items that helps us into the mid and late game. So we're investing for the futures, and those items should scale upwards. Because of that, we also want to pick items that helps us right now. So items like explosive inventors will help us right now if we play Scrappies. That's why I recommend Scrappies and inventors. Items like Embarrassment and Smuggler can be wonderfully strong in the mid and late game as we get more choices, more chance of rolling for high tier items. Mana Boots and the Warlock Global and Octarine and Voidstone are all for mages. Our build needs Warlock and our builds use mages. If you were to ask me, I'll pick Mana Boots, Warlock Global. I'll pick all 4, but I rated Voidstone the lowest because we will have Crystal Maiden. Having Crystal Maiden means we don't need a single unit to cast faster. It's actually better to have lower CD on a Lich or maybe on a Razor in the mid to late game. I'll also having those crucial AoE beneficial team items, which I'll describe as well. The other items can follow my tier list. Just one item to highlight here is Silver Lining. Because we will be kind of winning and losing half of the time, Silver Lining actually kicks in not a lot of gold, just 2 to 5 gold. But even with those gold, that can be helpful because every gold will compound. You make 1 interest on this first turn of gold, the next time you're 1 step closer to make the next step of interest for 2 gold for 20 gold. So gold still compound. So anything that helps us with gold, we'll still take it. Our damage will come from AoE spell damage, knowing that we do want to go into mages, and the unit that will be coming back to us will be Shadow Fiend, which gives a lot of damage and a great candidate to wear the Mana Boots. Having those top items helps, but the build does not need them necessarily. It does help a lot. Because we have a Crystal Maiden on the team, we can adjust our lineup according to different legendaries we find, also according to the enemy composition. If we need to catch enemy knights, we can pick more enigmas. If we need to catch enemy with stuns, Tide will be the case. So we can shuffle around legendaries as we go. Makes us super versatile. Coming to round 5 to 15, this is the rounds where we save up our 50 gold and we only keep the core units. Because if we try to keep multiple units, we will be short on gold. It will dig into the savings of the piggy bank. By keeping only core units, this allows us to lose now, but to come back stronger with economy. The core units include the units that help the board to fuse into 2 stars. If I'm sitting on 2 Bounty Hunter, 1 more Bounty Hunter will be perfect. I don't need 4 Bounty Hunter because I don't plan on 3-star Bounty Hunter. So it's Clockwork, so it's Timbersaw. Unless I get a lot of Clockwork and Timbersaw with explosive global item, I'm happy to try to get them to 3-star, but not necessarily needed. So those units on the board, we want to help them to 2-star at least. The mages. Our ideal mage will be Crystal Maiden, Razor, plus Keeper of Light if we can find him. If we can't, we go for Pack and Lena. And keep in mind, because this is all about the economy, all about savings, Pack and Lena should not be fused to 2-star. Why is that? Because those two, that's 2 tier and 3 tier unit that fuses to 2-star. It will cost us 6 gold for Pack, 9 gold for Lena. They actually sell for so much less. I believe they sell for 4 and 5 gold each, and we actually lose gold because of that. The only exception is 2-star Pack only when we can go into the 2-star DK. Not necessarily saying we find the DK then we fuse the Pack, but rather if we already have 2 DK, likely I'll make the Pack to 2-star. The core demon we'll keep is definitely the Shadow Fiend, simply because it's massive AoE damage, super fast in casting, great candidate to wear the Mana Boots because he gains mana double the fast with demon powers. Also, he does a lot of single target damage. He's also a Warlock. What else do you want, right? I call him Butterfin because he's so squishy. So without Mana Boots, sometimes I give him HP items. The Warlocks we're looking for is the Necromancer. One of the strongest Warlock in my opinion because it is a heartless. It can also heal and heals us and damage enemy. Necromancer plus Shadow Fiend can be very strong. The other Warlock I haven't typed here is Disruptor. Disruptor is also very strong because the AoE damage, silence and blind is massive. Being a Warlock, Disruptor is very lovely. So Shadow Fiend is the core, Disruptor or Necro can be used. Of course, eventually we'll have 4 Warlocks so we have both of them. That's right, we're not looking for more units because that will delay the saving of our economy. This is for round 5 to 15. Most of our friends are a little puzzled with the mechanics with Dota Underlords. I'll have a brief explanation here and a few tips. Later on, I'll make a full video how to save up properly with all of the type of tricks and ideas behind all the decisions with saving up. Firstly, interests are calculated at the start of each battle round. 2 types of rounds in the game. One is a preparation round where you can move your units in and out of the bench onto the board. During the battle round, they're actually fighting. You can't move your units in and out. So, during the preparation round, gold is still there to spend for us, we can spend gold during preparation and during battle round. But make sure we only purchase the units that gets upgraded for our board presence. Increase the strength of the board during the preparation phase because we want to be stronger, we don't want to lose too much HP. We purchase the units we want to keep. Say if you have a Shadow Fin on the board, you can't fit another Shadow Fin, we want to buy the Shadow Fin from the shop when the battle starts. Once the battle starts, the moment the time ticker from the preparation round goes to 0, the interest will be calculated at that instant. If I'm sitting on 30 gold, I will get 3 gold of interest, then I buy the Shadow Fin, goes down to 27, I still make the 3 gold of interest. This small tip of ensuring we receive the max interest per round will compound our gold so much quicker. And I'll often try to make multiples of 10 for additional gold interest. Because of the compound system, when I say make multiples of 10, sometimes I actually sell a unit that is semi-core but not fully core. For example, there was once I sold the Crystal Maiden because it was too early in the rounds. If by selling her I make a spare gold. My idea was I'll find the Crystal Maiden once I go into the later stage of the game, which we did. Took me a while, but you know, it's a balance. Also, sometimes I even consider a delay of the upgrade on the board for additional gold. But we want to keep in mind that HP is better than gold as we go into the mid-game, because we earn so much gold from this saving strategy. No point of losing too much HP for 1 gold of saving. And yes, the next guide will focus on the reasons behind why we do this and why we don't. As an example, if it's a neutral round, I am happy to sacrifice a loss on the neutral round for additional gold. But versus players, I tend to try to have my board a little stronger if I can find and have the upgrade now. On the third part, I will only spend gold to level up to 6 once I save up over 50 gold. I see so many friends who level to 6 super quickly at level 9. Yes, it is on curve because you only cost 5 gold and you just get there. But each gold builds up with saving. You're delaying your saving, and for this build you want gold quickly. And after I get to level 6, sometimes if at round 13 I get to level 6, it's okay. What's not okay is by losing too much HP afterwards. So the next highlight is how to spend gold. Before we do that, let's look at some of the positional adjustments we can make. We can use a mid-offensive or defensive counter positioning. Because we stay on full units for so long of a time, here we have a good example of using explosive inventors with something that does AoE. We can use the Razor here, we can even use, a Queen of Pain or maybe a Shadow Fin. So the idea is complement the AoE potential of the exploding inventors. Here the 3 just split damage evenly, while the Razor is just here in the background to do some damage with its AoE. So in the early rounds, we want to split damage and max the AoE potential. We save up enough gold and get to 5 or 6 units on the board. We want to consider a defensive position. We want to center our units for maximum mage damage. Why is that? Because not that we guarantee to win the round, but mage damage allows us to AoE cleave enemy to have a chance of killing most of them and reduce HP loss. At 5 to round 15 stage, it's about reducing HP loss. If you're not losing, it's perfect because no one can stop you in the late game because you have everything. You have stuns, pure damage, healing. But at this stage, you want to protect as much as HP by killing enemy units. It's not about winning, it's about surviving here. Because HP is so important, I want to focus more tips on losing less. Losing in the early stages are unavoidable for this build and we'll be looking for saving up. Because of that, here are some tips to minimize losses. We use simple but effective alliance as they are found in the shop, given that it doesn't reduce the saving. For example, if I can buy a unit from the shop that gives a simple alliance but it will reduce my saving from 40 gold to 35 gold, I will delay the purchase until the battle round starts. Unless it's a very big pickup, then I'll still buy it because we balance when gold important or HP important. It's about protecting HP first, then the gold. But if it's not a massive upgrade, I'll still go for the gold. So we can go for 3 Scrappies, Warriors or Hunters. 2 Binomial is a very nice pickup. 2 Heartless, Druids are great, Warlocks can work. So make quick use of what we're offered by buying things from the shop. Then we sell them for full price after. We don't need to fuse them to 2-star. Next one is positioning our lineup to assess with the core unit that does the most damage, and we try to kill as many as possible. Here I'm showing another particular lineup with the mages, with a few of the inventors with the Shadowfiend. The core unit is Shadowfiend. We want to have Shadowfiend protecting the corner to allow him to not only cast his spells, but also normal attack enemy. We're having a Pack and Crystal Maiden as the last result, while Razor is quite tanky as a mage. The highlight here is to keep in mind, if the enemy has Pudge, if there's too many Pudge, you push the Pack up one step, you push the Shadowfiend up, you put the Crystal Maiden behind the Shadowfiend, so she gets cooked instead of the Shadowfiend. We build around, again, we build around unit we want to do the most damage. Here it's building around the Shadowfiend. We can also build around the Keeper of the Light this way as well. So as you can see, Shadowfiend focused lineup, how to tank, how to do more damage. For round 15 to 21, this is actually the most crucial rounds of this build. If you get this pack correctly, what I believe is we have such a good solid chance of winning coming first. Because once you get to big boss 5 and go further, or even a big boss 4, you want to be top 2. So this is the part that determines if you can make to top 2. And it's not that you get lucky and you keep going, but rather we have increased our chances by our actions. Let's have a look. We're looking for one particular tier 3 item. We won't find it, we'll always take it. It is higher class criminal. This is the only key item that can massively boost the chance of winning. I have not lost a game after finding this item, so this is how strong it is. Other than that, for the tier 3 items, Skadi is nice, Vanguard is nice, Mac is nice, Final Flash is nice as a mage lineup, and the rest of them, you can see my tier list for the tier list of the tier 3 items with my explanation. To describe the higher class criminal, it will cost a lot of gold to go from level 8 to level 9, even more gold from level 9 to level 10. This item discounts about 50 to 60 gold because of the rates, and because our lineup focus on legendaries, it's like taking 50 to 100 gold for free. That's how good this item is, and it's superb. It allows us to roll a level 8 instead of level 9. It allows us to roll a level 9 for level 10 rates. Once we get to level 10, we get level 11 rates. And with that 12% legendary rates, that's how we found the 3-star techies this way. One thing to keep in mind, our build is focused on high class criminal because we only want higher rates for the purple and legendaries. If you are playing a different build, this higher class criminal item can backfire. Because it is a double-edged sword, it reduces the chance of you finding lower tier units like 1 tier and 2 tier. And I have made the explanation in the tier list as well. So don't always pick this without thinking because it can backfire. But for this build, it's a wonderful one. It just helps us so much. Let's look at some of the key HP indicators. This is our first indication when to be spending, when to be doing what action. Our goal is to have HP over 50% at round 20. This is actually pretty normal for most other builds, but for our build, we're definitely going to be top 4 once we're at this stage, most of the case for me. If our HP is above 50% and our board have enough strength of 2-star units or value, you can click tab or press on the left hand corner with a little bar of scoreboard to see how much value your units have. Compare with other people to see if your value is enough or if your 2-star units are enough. We want to go to level 7 and round 16. With the surplus gold we have, we definitely can achieve that. We want to go to level 8 and round 17. This will put our gold a little lower. What that happens is, it opens up legendary rates, allows us to put more units on the board. The downside is, we'll probably go from about 60 or 50 gold down to 20 or 30 gold. We'll lose 2 to 3 gold of interest for this round, but we can save up again. So that is the key. The key is to save up again, knowing we're level 8. On the next round, we'll be on 30 or 40 gold. Next round, we'll be on 40 or 50 gold again, probably around 19. So overall, we lost about 5 to 6 gold. What we do gain is a lot of combat potential, a lot of HP loss reduction, a lot of strength, and maybe a win streak. We can roll down to 30 to 20 gold for key 2-star units and our purple units. If I'm 1 Shadowfiend, 1 Razor away, I can be rolling for those units to 2-star because they're so much stronger at 2-star. We can be rolling for a Keeper of the Light, Necromancer, If we're just looking for one of them, also Disruptor, we can also swap the Conquer in with a weaker frontline. We will also be looking for legendaries as we roll at level 8. Notice we're trying to roll to 30 gold if we are pretty comfortable. We roll down to 20 if we have lots of pairs. Having the pairs and having the HP buffer, we can afford to save up at later rounds as well. What that means is we want to save up at round 19 and round 20, and we want to go to level 9 and 21. Even with HP buffer, this build enjoys so much higher rates and so much strength with more units added. Once we get to round 21 and go further, we keep rolling down to 20 to 10 gold for key 2-star units, purples and legendaries. You might be wondering, hey, I have HP buffer, I don't need to spend that gold, I want to save up. Let's consider this. Each round you save up from 20 to 10 gold, say you have 40 to 30 or 50 gold. You earn about 4 to 3 gold each round higher. Even if you save up 3 more gold each round from round 21 to round 25, you make about 12 gold. During that time, you might be losing more health because you haven't found your 2-star units. I see so often friends who, try to get a little greedy here, then they get punished. Then they get punished very massively. Because we are so greedy at the start, we can afford to be a little high rolling with our gold. We can afford to be a little rich with our gold here. That's why we roll down a little further. At round 15. Let me get some water. At round 15, if HP is below 50%, we have to spend much earlier. Because for this build, you're losing so much at the start. Sometimes you get punished massively by like an Arc Warden build, maybe by a massive Druid Beast Summoner build. You lose so much HP. So we have to kick things up even faster. So at round 15, during the battle rounds, we probably want to be level 7 here. So spend on the battle round for 15, then we spend on the battle round for 16 to get to level 8 already. This is still on-curve leveling, because now that keep in mind, by going to level 8, I don't mean to level to level 8, but I meant to level to 23 over 24 XP over here. Because next round, when you reach level 70, you'll be automatically going to level 8 by gaining 1 XP per round. I'll be touching that on the detail as well first. We want to also consider to level 9 on round 17. There's 2 considerations. If I have enough gold, I'll always go to 9 on round 17 instead of rolling, because our build needs legendaries. But without enough gold, we have to spend on 17. We can keep rolling down to 20, 10 or 0 gold to find a solid lineup. We can't afford to lose anymore. Why is that? Because although we're below 50%, we're 40 or 30%, our lineup is so much weaker because we have been greedy with gold. And if we don't find our crucial 2-star units, likely we'll lose multiple rounds after that. All of a sudden we're down to 10 or 15 HP, and it's very hard to come back from there. It is a hard choice sometimes. Level 9 gives us higher rates, but we're left with almost no gold. Level 8 gives us lower rates, but we have high gold, which we can be rolling for 2-star units. How I would balance is, if I have not enough pairs, I'll go to level 9. If I have lots of pairs waiting, I'll roll at level 8. Because level 9 opens up legendaries. Even a Gyrocopter Enigma can do a lot here. Because this is about round 17. Round 17 Gyro, Techies, Tide can do a lot. As for the lineup choices, the key again is to kill enemy units with AoE damage. The sustain come from our Warlocks. We have Shadow Fiend, Disruptor, Necromancer, and maybe even Enigma. Any form of stun from Tiny, 2-star Tiny, 1-star, Disruptor, Conquer, Tide can be massive. Because we have mages, their damage even with a stun can do a lot of damage. I can see a 1-star Conquer sending a bolt to the Hunter lineup that does 1/3 of the health. The 3 mage is the crucial lineup with Razors, Crystal Maiden, or Keeper of the Light. The Keeper will be replaced by the Lich, but before that, Keeper is definitely stronger than Pakalina. The 1 demon is always Shadow Fiend. Even at 1-star, I'll still use him to activate the Warlocks and to give us enough damage. We can consider 1 to 3 frontline. Ideally, we want 2-star units, Scrappies, Tiny, Purple, Warriors like Conquer. We can also consider the Dragon Knight with a pack, simply because they activate the Dragon synergy, and Dragon Knight actually does a decent damage with his magic damage. He is actually a solid Mage Knight. His Puff of Fire Breath actually does really good damage, especially at 2-star. Also, he transforms at 2-star. So he's a single target damage, also AoE, which is why I love Shadowfin, why I like Puck and Dragon Knight. But you don't have to force those if you have Keeper, if you have something else. Yes, I do try this mage strat a lot, not silent my friend. I actually tried this for about over 20 games during my Big Boss 5 progression, and this works wonderfully. Now, we want to add purple units that can activate air lines. We want Warlocks and Scrappy with Alchemist, but Alchemist doesn't do damage. We can replace Warlock later. We want Necromancer for the Heartless plus Lich. We can have Necromancer with Shadowfin, all of a sudden we have Warlocks. Now keep in mind how the Warlocks works is that both of the unit that links with the Warlock and this unit will get healed. So if a unit that's in the front line gets low HP, Warlock heals and he does damage to AoE. That healing will be fed back to the unit in the front line and that unit will be healed. So Warlock is very strong here. Disruptor is a very strong Warlock simply because Disruptor is usually placed in the front line. He will heal the front line and himself as they get low HP. And his cast of damage is pretty high, really good control. Legendaries as we find them. We want to add legendaries as we open up more board spot. As we go to level 8 and 9, there's so many chances of picking up legendaries. This is when we consider, hey, can I replace my one tier units like the tiny? Maybe not tiny. Can I replace my tier 1 units like Clockwork with 1-star techies? Maybe I can replace it with a Tidehunter. I'll definitely replace things with the Gyrocopter and Enigma because Gyro gives so much damage, super tanky. Enigma will give us the Binomials and massive pure damage. And also a Warlock, so lots of legendaries to be added. And now of course, Lich is the core here. Lich replaces Keeper. As we go into the later stage of the rounds, as you can see, round 22, I'm already calling this a later stage of the rounds because for us, we have skipped the whole mid process and jumped right into the legendary process. With the legendary pickups, round 22 is already a late game for us with level 9. The key here is controlling the flow of our spending. We have more strength on the board, so having more strength on the board is everything for us because we want to protect our HP as much as possible. As we know, we're very much stronger into the late game. The Tidehunters were picked up, the Enigmas and Lich and Gyrocopter with the Warlocks and Mages will do a lot of damage. Once you have tried the build, you'll be confident on its late game potential, then you just need to make sure you protect your mid game. We'll be rolling down to 20 to 10 gold at level 9, unless we have found multiple massive upgrades. Maybe 2-star units like Necromancer, Disruptor, maybe Shadowfin, Razor, or Keeper of the Light. Or if we found multiple great legendaries, say Enigma, Tide, Gyro, those good things, we have to find more to ensure we're strong enough before we save up. Because it's not about getting greedy here, it's about asserting dominance, earning gold from win streaks, and protecting HP. We want to slow down spending once we start to win convincingly. You can see that enemy didn't really, kill half of your units, or you're stronger than most enemy by comparing your value and amount of 2-stars using the scoreboard. We'll keep spending down to 0 gold if we're losing, because over here, each unit we find can give us a massive upgrade. Say Lich, say Gyro, those things can be a lot. So we'll keep rolling until we find enough strength. We want to try to not spend on round 24 and 29 because this is the round just before the neutral round. Saving up on those rounds will provide us with almost double the interest because let's say if I'm 30 gold, I get 3 gold on round 24, next round I'm on 25. 25 is the neutral round. I don't have to spend here again, I make gold again. So not spending on 24 and 29 will give us more interest earning. And that is a good habit to be controlling. Because at the start we said that controlling the flow of spending is very important. Now one thing to highlight, I'd like to roll down to 20 gold if we have 2+ pairs of legendaries waiting. If I'm on multiple legendary pairs and I'm on level 9, it's very nice as an upgrade to find those 2-star. Legendaries have a good HP too, lots of damage, and they sometimes can cast multiple times. Game item choices. Tier 4 items, I love to go with Refresher on my 2-star legendaries, starting with my initiators, which will go with like a little tier list after this one. We'll be going for Dagon because, as I explained in my tier 4 list, Dagon actually stops enemy from casting by killing them before they cast. BKB is very nice on my frontline initiators. I tend to not give BKB to the backline because I need to make sure my frontline doesn't get human silenced, doesn't get stunned, they cast their spells. My pipe is nice because although I might not be facing mages, just having pipe means enemy will do almost no magic damage to us for a long period of time. Because our backline and our midline is very squishy. Make sure the pipe or the arcane boots holder is in the middle, say Necromancer, or we swap the Shadow Thing with Necro if it's a mana boot. For the tier 5 items, the top pickups are +1 slot, Shiver's Guard, Assault Chorus, and Bloodthorn. Everything else that helps a team fight. You might be wondering, hey, Bloodthorn is a damage item, but it's the spell passive the Bloodthorn allows to silence the enemy that gains mana the fastest on enemy team. This can be a Tidehunter, this can be a random unit, but the key is usually enemies will prioritize on their units to gain mana fast with a stunner, so that's why this counters them. But of course, if you watch my tier list, you see the full explanations why some other items like Heart is great, but it's just not enough in a late game team fight. The rate of tier 5 items appearing is only around 40 unless you have Smuggler. It's 30% around 40. If you're in round 40, a damage item, something like Radiance, will do enough damage but not game changing anymore. It is the stuns and controls. Shiver's Guard will do massive damage. I had a 2-star Tide with a Shiver's Guard. It was #1 on damage meter with 6,000 plus damage, just because Shiver's Guard is like a free AoE Shadow Thing wave with a Lich ulti cast onto everyone. Positionings for types of units. At level 9, sometimes we still have unretired frontline units which are still 2-star. We'll be picking up legendaries. Core units will always be 3 mages. Here we have Razor, Crystal Maiden, and Keeper. Our center unit is usually a healer like Necro. We can have multiple Warlocks. We don't need all 4 at this moment, but we can swap the Gyro for a Disruptor. But at 1-star Disruptor, sometimes I'll take the Gyro over the Disruptor because he dies a little too fast. Sometimes he doesn't cast. At a 2-star Disruptor, I'll swap the Gyro with Disruptor. Or sometimes I can sell the Timbersaw and put the Disruptor here. So the frontal positions are where the stunners goes. The backline where the Gyro is to allow him to cast multiple times with the help of Crystal Maiden. The key here are my Warlocks. They will help healing while the Keeper can AoE enemies off. So note that we don't have to use all those units in particular. The 3 mage and 2 Warlocks are essential. The rest can be adjusted. Let's say if I find a Tidehunter, I can replace the Timbersaw with Tide. If I find a Techies, I can replace Timbersaw. I don't want to replace Tiny unless I find a better stunner. 2-star Conquer, maybe a Tide with a Conquer, or maybe a Disruptor. Adjustments and units. We want to be replacing Keeper of the Light with Lich for the more backline damage. Lich at 2-star is insanely strong because it had about 8 seconds of cooldown. If you had an Octarine Core, 4 seconds of Lich balls. And those balls not only do damage, but also slows enemy attack at movement speed. Keeper is too slow in the late game. It's not cutting it, especially when enemies split up. So even at a 2-star Keeper, I'll be selling the Keeper for a Lich at 1-star, because it also enables the Heartless first with the Necromancer. Gyro over Techies because Gyro tends to cast more than 1 times, while Techies is in the front line that dies usually after 1 bomb. Techies' eye is improved, that's why we still use him, but the Gyro is so much stronger. Gyro have great armor, 15 armor, about 900 health, great range, and just great all round. And really heavy magic damage. Also, Gyro's ultimate slows enemy. We'll replace Tidehunter over Conquer because it is instant stun. We'll consider keeping Medusa with Tidehunter because our build have so many spots. We have 9 spots or 10 spots. When there are other enemies mages around, we can swap in the Medusa over a different unit. For example, we don't need all the Warlocks. Maybe we swap one for the Medusa. Maybe we'll be swapping out a unit because we don't need that much frontline with the mages. Frontline won't do much. It's about whoever stuns or whoever defends against 1 wave of spells. Also, Disrupt is key against mages. Let's look at some of the ideal composition we can find. Well, once we reach level 10, we can have the Tidehunter, Disruptor, Enigma in the front, because 2 of them are initiators, while the other one needs to take damage to cast a little faster. After casting fast, it will heal a unit with it, because the Warlock link will allow him to heal maybe one of the Disruptors or the Tidehunter, and the frontline actually stop dying with the Warlock heal. We'll have our 4 Warlocks with Disruptor, Enigma, Necro, and Shadowfiend. We have the Heartless with Necro and Lich, Mages with those 3. Gyrocopter can be replaced by something else, but ideally a 2-star Gyrocopter is very strong. Simply because he has such good health and HP, he can cast multiple times with Crystal Maiden. He is the one I position on the side to be baiting enemies away. AoE spells from Enigma, AoE bolts, just even Assassins I'll be baiting spells away. So it's really crucial for Gyro to be split this way. Now, we want to note that if we have enough damage, we can swap the Gyro for the Medusa, but always keep a 2-star Gyro, because sometimes Medusa is not reliable, sometimes she gets stunned, but a Gyro is very reliable, casts instantly, and the slow is massive. The Gyro is positioned to bait it, of course. Sometimes we can bait the Storm away, maybe Enigma pure damage. With the 15 armor, the Gyro is very insanely strong as a 2-star. The course is there any diverse synergy strat that consists win a match say 4+ synergy? This is the synergy, my friend. This is the one I'm trying to share. This is a pretty diverse synergy. I'm not saying you have to pick those units, but rather those are some of the optimal choices for late game. You can swap the Gyro in for techies. We don't need the Tide, we can have a Conquer. We do need a Disruptor though, because that's a Warlock. So Tide, Gyro, Lich can be swapped for Keeper before you find a Lich. It's quite diverse. Let's look at what if for the ultra late game enemy has lots of catch and stuns, say Disruptor, Tidehunter, maybe Enigma. We want to split in this particular formation. This late game formation allows 2 of the initiators to be in the front to be casting fast. Of course, sometimes we don't even need Enigma. I can put that as a Tide or as a Disruptor if I need more control. But having Enigma means 4 Warlock that give us perfect healing. The Gyrocopter and the Crystal Maiden are here to bait AoE spells, while my units are centered together for 2 things. One is that I want them to deal AoE damage in the middle, and AoE stun with Medusa. Other times I have a pipe, I have a mana boots on particular unit. I want to be circling those units with... I want to be circling those items with my units so they get the most benefit out of it. Usually I have my pipe on the Medusa, mana boots on the Shadowfiend, Lich are here to get all the benefits. Healing from Necro, all the buffs. Lich needs to survive for multiple casts. So, we have a bit of the item choice and tips. Mana boost on Shadowfiend because as a demon, Shadowfiend gets mana super fast. Once you reach 50 mana, you'll give everybody else 25 mana, which is just like a mini Crystal Maiden, which is very nice. How do we place Refresher? We want Refresher on the 2-star Tide, but there's a case we might not want this because enemies has mages and humans silencers with the humans. Also maybe knights with human silence. At that time, BKB is better on the Tide because I'd rather having 1 stun than the Tide just dies to human silence, because in the front line he needs to cast fast. So Refresher on the Tide. Next one, really good is Lich. Also we can consider Gyro with Refresher if Lich is dying too fast, because Gyro usually survives longer. And Medusa with Refresher is depending on whether we need damage or stun. If we're lacking one, we can swap for the other one, so Gyro can swap with Medusa. Lastly, it's an Enigma. Why Enigma is last? Massive damage, pure damage, but other than damage, Enigma doesn't do anything. Its damage doesn't slow the enemy can walk out of it, and most of the case I do put Refresher on 2-star Enigma unless I have other better candidates. At 1-star level, I'll actually have the Refresher on the Lich first because Tide dies too fast, Gyro is not getting mana as fast, Medusa should be 2-star but sometimes we can't find her. 1-star Enigma doesn't live long enough. I built centered around the Lich to allow him to survive long enough for multiple casts. For BKB mechanism and other defensive items, we want on the frontliners. once, because BKB will purge away the silence or the stun once it's activated. It won't activate once it's done, but it will purge away the silence, or the the human silence, the cloud silence. The unit can cast. Also, Merc is because sometimes a unit in the front line is getting super low. The Merc damage can heal them. Also, other defensive items like HP, Vanguard, maybe armor for the frontliners. We need them to survive long enough to be casting. I did try to make this guide super detailed, but as we go further with the updating of the patch notes as the build change, I'll be adjusting this build for us as well. Also, if I come up with any ideas for this build, I'll be adding this on the Reddit and on YouTube first. Yes, to summarize for this 4 Warlock, 3 Mage legendary build is that we want to be saving. After saving, we want to be spending correctly while we keep only of the core units. We'll definitely be losing in the early to mid stage of the game, but it's the way we come back in the mid to late game that bring us up. Because this build, once you stop losing, you pretty much stop losing everything. So most of the lineups can't defeat you unless they have a special counter. For disruptors, you want to be splitting. Against Tidehunters, you'll consider maybe I can use a Cypher of Vice. Maybe I can use humans with Crystal Man and Keeper to human silence his Tide. Try to be creative and try to adjust. Also, see if they are assassins. If they are assassins, try to stick to the corner unless the assassin player has died, because the assassin player will destroy us unless we defend against them with positioning. I remember this one game, enemy had a Cypher of Vice on his frontline Tide Hunter. I took my puck out, moved my puck in front of the Tide, puck instantly gets hexed, then we proceed with the game with my Tide Hunter casting. So be aware what the enemy has, adjust for them, and also be dynamic. The scaled units defend against mages, while against melee frontliners, you want to consider Medusa, which they kind of surround us, the Medusa casts and stuns them, the Enigma and all the friends follows up. So, I have reached a lot of the Spire. I have been spending this entire weekend making this guide first. I'm super excited. I want to share and help you guys with ranking up and having the best joy in Dota Underlords. Thank you for all your support, guys. Please subscribe for more guides, for more videos, more tips for Dota Underlords, and also more, fun builds as well. Please also follow and support me by subscribing with Twitch. Thank you everyone.